Well, at
Anyway,
least he's... Go on.
I'm opening Edge of Eternities packs. I got a whole
Do it.
thing of Edge. I got all the Edge of Eternities packs, so I'm opening them. Also, this is Terrace Moon.
Hello.
Um, by the way, I do see over here where we have the golden packs, but I'm not worrying about. I'm just gonna like on. I'll open those later. And the Final Fantasy pack too. I'm just gonna do basically whatever the I think actually I would have the multiple of 6 on this. Okay, let's see. I haven't fully looked through every card in the set, so some of these are going to be new to me. Kov Landseeker, 4/4/4/3 menace. When it enters, make a lander at the beginning of the end step. Sacrifice at the beginning of end step on the next turn. Okay, that's not very good. This is okay. The I mean, if you're going to Sammy's Curiosity, gain 2 life, and create a lander, if you're going to use landers, this is probably a card that you'd want for it. Which most of the commons are probably going to be mostly draft. X less to cast, where X is the number of differently named lands. Really?
Well, that's not
So
a
we're
very fun guy, am I right?
so we're just keeping domain alive then. Okay, cool. To be fair, it's not as broken as some of the other domain cards that have rotated out. 4/4/4/4 landfall. This isn't going to see play. The chocobos are a lot better at doing the landfall stuff. Bombard, 3 mana for an instant that deals 4 damage to a creature. Yeah, I could see you using it in draft, but mostly not. Okay, here's where we get cards that might actually be relevant and constructed.
Robert.
Whenever another artifact enters, create a 2/2. Only once per turn, though. With it being 5, I'm not 100% sure that that's very good. And whenever a non-token artifact creature you control deals combat damage to a player, the player gets 2 poison.
Oh no.
And a player with 10 or more poison counters loses the game. Oh no, indeed. Oh boy. Oh, and if you have multiple of these on the field, because this can be a token and it'll still trigger that effect. It's only the thing that's attacking that needs to be not a token. Nope.
Damn!
When it enters, deal 1 damage to target creature an opponent controls and can warp it for 3. Oh, and it has haste.
That is a beautiful card art, too. I love it.
Yeah, this seems like very worthwhile. This seems like a very worthwhile play. Some of the warp cards are really, really good. Alright, another Virulent Silencer. I might make that deck and make people's lives miserable. Nebula Dragon. That doesn't seem... It's pretty, but it doesn't seem very good. Because it's 7 mana for a 4/4 flyer, and when it enters, it deals 3 damage to something. That sucks, actually. Oreplate Pangolin. They made Pangolin its own creature type? Huh. Okay. When there's another artifact, you can pay 1 and put a +1/+1 counter on this. That seems pretty. That seems like it could have some viability, like maybe in an equipment deck.
Ooh.
Steel Swarm Operator.
That art actually goes pretty hard too. I really like it.
I like this. This a blue mana dork, but only for artifacts. That seems like it could be very good if you use it right. Embrace Oblivion. As additional cost, sack an artifact or creature, destroy a creature or spacecraft.
Alright, so I see we're going Exterminatus on this. Okay, cool.
Destroy artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. Surveil 1. I believe I've seen this card in other sets before. This is like a reprint. We got a mythic rare, Quantum Riddler. I believe this, if I remember right, this card's broken. Yes, it is. I know how this is broken, especially in like modern.
Ooh,
so
bad art though.
5 mana for a 4/6 flyer. When it enters, draw a card. As long as you have one or fewer cards in hand, if you would draw one or more cards, you draw that many cards plus 1 instead. That second part isn't going to matter very often. Warp for 2 mana, which means you can play this for 2 mana, draw a card, and if you have like a turn, and if you have like Ephemerate, you can actually blink this, draw a card, and Warp will normally exile the creature during the end step. But if you Ephemerate to blink it, then it'll stay on the field. And you've drawn 2 cards for 3 mana and have a 4/6 flyer. It's nuts. I should see what kind of blink is in standard to see if that can work in standard.
Do anything.
Alright. Self-craft Mechan. When it enters, you can sack an artifact. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on a creature and draw a card. That's okay. Probably not constructed playable, though. Starport. 4 mana and tap it to tap another creature, and it costs 2 less to activate if you control a creature with +1/+1 counter on it. Not constructed playable. Saurian Voidborn. 3 for a 2/2. When this creature or another creature or artifact you control dies, target opponent loses, you gain. But it's got warp. So you can bring it out for 1, kill something, blase blase.
It's a fucking vampire, too. Fucking hell!
Look, it's not my fault. I just opened the pack.
Space vampires. That's a new one.
Night Luminary. When it enters, you make a soldier, and it's normally 4, but you can warp it for 2. I don't think you'd ever really want to play this for 4, unless you would run out of other things to do. Comet Crawler. When it attacks, you can sacrifice another creature or artifact. If you do, it gets +2/+0. That's fine. Pull Through the Weft. 5 mana. Return up to 2 target non-land permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand. Then return up to 2 target land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Good for self-mill decks. Any kind of reanimation type of decks. Maybe ones with like... You might put that in Yuna, I think. Pinnacle
Ooh.
Emissary. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, create a 1/1 colorless drone artifact creature token with flying and can only block creatures with flying, and you can warp it for 1. Ooh, okay.
And that art goes hard.
That could pop off a lot, even in standard. Starting to lean towards the possibility of like an artifact-oriented VV deck, maybe.
Nundurgan.
Cryogen Relic. This card is really good. When it enters or leaves the battlefield, draw a card. The second part isn't like the reason that it's amazing, because you can just put it, you can sack it to put a stun counter on a tapped creature. But if you have like a means to like bring it back to your hand or blink it, like if you blink it with something, you're drawing 2 cards, because it'll leave the battlefield and then it'll enter again. You can, if you return it to your hand, you draw a card and then you can replay it. Very good card, especially for Pauper format, where there's lots of ways to do all those shenanigans. Plasma Bolt. This is our shock replacement. 2 damage to any target. 3 damage if a non-land permanent left the battlefield or a spell was warped. And Dual Sun Adepts. 3 for a 2/2 with double strike. Honestly, even without that second piece of text, which you probably won't use that second piece of text, I would consider this if I were running a deck that did a lot of pumping, because that's a decent rate for a double striker. And Alpha Rael, Dreaming Acolyte. 3 mana for a 2/3. When it enters, draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards unless you discard an artifact. And during your turn, it has Death Touch. So that's fun.
Ooh.
And let's see what the rare is. Loading Zone. If one or more counters will be put on a creature, spacecraft, or planet you control, twice that many of each of those kinds of counters are put on instead. And you can warp it in for 1 mana. Which is really good, because if you have 1 mana and then you have a bunch of other ways to put counters on stuff that you can play that turn, you can get a lot out of it, like with that 1 mana play.
Heck yeah.
So that's very good. We're going to focus on the new cards.
Bro, that art though.
That is some nasty art. All right. So it costs 5, but it's warp for 2. For a 4/5. When it enters until end of turn, another target creature you control gets +2/+0 and gains. When this creature dies, return to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. You want to play that in a sack deck. You want to put that ability onto another creature, and then use a means to sack that creature. The big downside to this card is that you can't do it at instant speed. Because if you could do it at instant speed, this would be amazing. Destroy an artifact or a tapped creature, and you gain 3 life for 4 mana. I don't know if that rate meets. I think some control decks will want it simply because they'll want more ways to destroy things, but I don't think that rate is good enough. Melt Strider's Gear. When this equipment enters, attach it to target creature you control. Crit creature gets +2/+1 and has reach. I think that's good enough.
Yeah.
Granted, to equip it, which means if they get rid of the creature that you attach it to initially, you have to pay 5 to equip it. That's kind of a big downside to that card. This is 1 for a 1/1 with Death Touch. You're playing this in an artifact deck. You're playing this in some kind of sack deck. What have you. Terrapact Intimidator. When it... this is 2. When it enters, target opponent may have you create 2 lander tokens if they don't put 2 +1/+1 counters on this creature.
He's just a little guy.
I think that's interesting. See, the issue with a card like this oftentimes is that your opponent will always give you the option that helps you the least. Right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. You could make that a much more difficult decision with either 2 landers or 2 counters if you're running a deck that really cares about having a bunch of artifacts, or... Because, it's either give me the things that I need, or I have a 4/3. I think especially in Modern you can do something with that. Reroute Systems. 1 mana instance. Choose 1. Give something indestructible, or it deals 2 damage to a tapped creature. I like this. I like this as a little tiny bit of removal for white decks. I'm not sure... I think it's a little bit more of a sideboard option, but still decent enough.
Yo.
The Serim. It's a spaceship. I can try. Seriema. The Seriema. There we go. I sounded it out. I figured it out.
We're smart.
Trust us. We're smart.
No, we're not.
Speak for yourself. When the Seriema enters, search your library for a legendary creature card, reveal it, put it in your hand, and then shuffle. So basically it's 3 mana, you plop this down, and it has Station. And basically you tap a creature you control to put counters on it, and then it gets more abilities. And at 7 counters, it becomes a creature. And also gives other tapped legendary creatures indestructible. I think this mostly works in a legendary deck. But, not the.
It's not the worst.
You could build around it. All right.
I guess you could say you can work with it. I'm not apologizing.
I don't. What was the pun?
Work, shift. Okay,
No,
it's not funny if I have.
What? Anyway. Lux Knight Breacher. I just like that name. This creature
Art
enters
goes
with a
hard.
+1/+1 counter for each other creature and/or artifact you control. That could get crazy. It costs 4, but obviously you play it when you have other stuff. Gene Pollinator. It's a creature that's a springleaf drum. You tap
It's
and
a
untap.
little guy.
Oh wait, you tap and untap permanent, not just a creature, and you don't have to pay. No, with Springleaf Drum, I don't think you had to pay mana either. I'd have to remember. I haven't played Springleaf Drum in a while. But anyway, you add 1 mana of any color by tapping it and a permanent, which could be like a lander token. So you almost turn a lander token into a pseudo land. Germinating Worm. When it enters, you gain 2 life, and you can warp it for 2, so you can just gain 2 life and be like, hey, if you're playing this card deck, you're not getting this one out of my hand, you little bitch. Melt Strider's Resolve. Enchant a creature you control. When it enters, enchant a creature fights up to 1 target creature an opponent controls. Okay, so this is doubles as a removal spell, basically. Enchant a creature gets +0/+2 and can't be blocked by more than 1 creature. You put this on that 1 mana Death Toucher. That's not bad. And Terra Symbiosis. 3 mana enchantment. When you put 1 or more +1/+1 counters on a creature you control, you draw that many cards. Do this only once each turn. But you have this, and you play it with Lux Knight Breacher when you have other board. Ooh, I might try green-white.
Oh no.
I might try to do that in green-white. That might be... It probably will be shitty, but I don't care. It's gonna
you got
be
2 rares.
Zookeeper Mechan. It's a mana rock creature, and also you can pay 7 to give something +4/+0. That second ability isn't going to be used. It's going to primarily be used to get more mana. That's pretty much it.
Oh, that's a cute card.
This is for draft. This is to fill in archetypes for draft. Drix Fatemaker. When it enters, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, and each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has trample. But you can warp it in. I think the warping it in is the more powerful part of that. Because you're just paying 2 mana to put a counter on something and give that creature trample for the turn. That seems decent. Not necessarily like super amazing, but like decent. There's an additional cost to cast the spell, sack an artifact or creature. Return target creature or spacecraft with mana value 5 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, then create a lander token. Interesting. Oh, that can do a lot of things. That can do many... Oh, you could use that with Yuna.
Ooh.
Ah, this is one of the special guest cards. Sunken Citadel, Land Cave. It enters tapped and you choose a color. You can add 1 mana of the chosen color or 2 mana and only to activate the abilities of land sources. So, but this I do not believe is legal in Standard, but it's Sunken Citadel.
It is such a cool art too. I really like it.
Yeah, that's really good. Terminal Velocity.
Yo! That art goes hard.
You may put an artifact or creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. That permanent gains haste. When this permanent leaves the battlefield, it deals damage equal to its mana value to each creature. And at the beginning of your end step, sacrifice this permanent. I'm thinking non-standard here, but bro, just like throw down a fucking Ulamog, make them exile their library, and then just wipe the board. That's great. Red Tiger Mechan. It's a 3/3. You can warp it in. This cool. seems like you can fill a slot in the deck with it. You can fill a place in the mana curve with it. It's not terrible. Not a terrible choice for that. Dockworker Drone. 2, but it enters with a +1/+1 counter, and when it dies, you put its counters on target creature controls. That's interesting, because you almost want to put this in like a... You would almost want to put this in a sack deck, even though the sack deck seems to be more black. I think that's worth looking into. Kavaran Sky Warden. 4/5 with reach. Void. At the beginning of your end step, if something left or a spell was warped, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Doesn't seem that good. You'd probably use it in draft if you've got a lot of warping going on. But Melded Moxite. When it enters, you can discard a card. If you do, draw 2. You can pay 3 and sacrifice it and create a tap. So you're So you're not necessarily worried about that activated ability. I think you can use it if you really need to, but if you really want to have a creature. But I think the main way you're using it is just you discard a card, draw 2 to filter some cards. Atmospheric Greenhouse. It's a spacecraft. You can put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control, which actually does help you station it faster because it's based on their power. And at 8 counters, it is a flying trample 5/4. I don't think this makes decks. I don't think this makes it in decks. I think if it does make it in decks, it's primarily to put a counter on everything.
Yeah.
Frenzied Baloth. 2 mana for a 3/2 that can't be countered with trample and haste. Creature spells you control can't be countered. Combat damage can't be prevented.
That is a big beefy boy.
That's nutso. This card shouldn't have been printed. That's crazy. Rig for War. Target creature gets +3/+0. First strike and reach. Okay. Yeah, that's a pump spell. Cerebral Download. Surveil X, where X is the number of artifacts you control, then draw 3 cards. It's 5 mana, draw 3. You're surveilling based on artifacts, which means you're kind of controlling what you draw. Infinite Guideline Station. It's a 5-color. You can use this as a commander in Commander now. When it enters, you create a tapped robot for each multicolored permanent you control. So you want to run a lot of multicolored stuff with this. At 12 counters, it becomes a 7/15 flyer. And when it attacks, draw a card for each multicolored permanent you control.
Jesus.
I think you're only going to see that in Commander, honestly. Biosynthetic Burst. 2 mana instant. Put a +1/+1 counter on a creature. It gains reach, trample, and indestructible until end of turn. Untap it. For 2 mana, that's insane. That's a lot of things for 2 mana. Ilavoy Operative. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. It's technically a 2-drop, but in reality, you're going to play it at earliest on turn 3 when you have a 1-drop in your hand. You're going to play it when you can play another spell after it, basically.
Jellyfish creatures are kind of fitting my vibe.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of jellyfish,
Roberts.
when it enters, tap target artifact or creature an opponent controls and put a stun counter on it, and then warp it for 3. This doesn't. It could be. It's fairly useful. It at the very least can stop something an opponent's doing for a little bit. It can at the very least slow their tempo. Mm-hmm. Honored Knight Captain, 2 mana for a 1/1. When it enters, create a 1/1. So it's basically 2 1/1s. And you can pay 6 and sacrifice it to search your library for an equipment, put it on the battlefield, and then shuffle. I don't think you're ever necessarily getting to that last ability. I think this is here to create 2 bodies. If you're running it. Beyond the Quiet, 5 mana, exile all creatures and spacecraft.
Ooh. That art is actually low-key pretty, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this set has some really cool art. Another 2 rares, which means this one is probably some kind of special guest. Exosuit Savior, 3 mana for a 2/2 flyer. When it enters, return up to 1 other target permanent you control to its owner's hand. So we're keeping the pixie archetype, I see.
Oh my god.
And the thing is, you don't have to return anything. And the card that goes with it is right here.
Heck yeah, boy.
Oh, you know what's funny? If you have a warp out, if you warp something out, and you're getting its one-time effect, and you have enough mana to play this and bounce it, oh yeah, you can do warp with that too, depending on what it is. I'd have to look into that. Cryo Shatter. Enchanted creature gets -5/-0, and when it becomes tapped or is dealt damage, destroy it. Damn.
Bruh.
Rip. 1 mana for a 4/1 defender. That's a really good blocker. Ooh, but if you put that enchantment that gives it some toughness, then it becomes a 4/3 for 2, which is really good, even with having defender. And you can have it fight. Yeah, that's pretty good. Blast Zone!
Finally, a card for me.
It enters with a charge counter. You can tap it for a colorless. You can pay, basically, per 2 mana you pay into it and tap it, you put a charge counter on it. So, you can pay 4 and tap it to put 2 charge counters, etc. But then you can pay 3 and sack it and tap it to destroy each non-land permanent with mana value equal to the number of charge counters on it. So if it has 1, you're destroying all the 1-drops. If it has 2, you're destroying all the 2-drops, etc. A Stelly Reclaimer.
Bro, that is so pretty.
It's very nice art. So it's 5 for a 5/4, but you can warp it for 3, and it's going to be important because it has an enters the battlefield ability. When this creature enters, return target non-creature, non-land permanent card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast this creature.
Dude.
I can see several uses for this.
I'll take 5.
You can only run 4 in deck.
I know. But I would keep one for myself.
Sunstar Lightsmith, 4 for a 3/3. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature and draw a card. I think because it costs 4, it's not really very good. Because you're not really going to trigger that flurry ability very often. 4 for a 3/4. That gets +1/+0 and Death Touch if you control an artifact. Not very good. Squire's Lightblade. When it enters, attach a target creature you control. That creature gains first strike until end of turn. So basically, on the turn it comes out. Oh, and it has flash, so you can give something first strike, and by default, when it's equipped to something, it gives it +1/+0. This seems pretty good as a combat trick for equipment decks. 4 mana 3/3. When it becomes tapped, create a lander token, and whenever a land you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on it. This actually rewards you for stationing with it. And also, like, you'll want those lander tokens, because what you can do is you can pay 2 and sack them to search for a basic land and put it in tapped, so that'll actually help trigger this landfall. So it might be a top-end option for landfall decks, although I don't think it's as good as what landfall decks are doing at the top end. Sacred Foundry!
Yo!
I got a shock land. As it enters, I can pay 2 life. Otherwise, it enters tapped, and I can tap it for either red or white. Shock lands are good. Shock lands are always good. I have another special guest here. Slag Drill Scrapper. Okay, 1 mana for a 1/2. You can pay 2, tap it, and sack another artifact or land to draw a card. That's okay. I don't think you're actively seeking out to play this card, but you can.
Ooh.
Dark Endurance. 2 mana to play an instant, but it costs 1 less if it targets a blocking creature. And the creature gets +2/+0 and gains indestructible until end of turn. Alright. So it makes your blocking better. Yeah, I like this. I like this. Good defensive combat trick. Can be used offensively, but it costs a little bit more to do it. Alright, this is a 2/3 for 4, but you can warp it for 2, which is important. When it enters, exile up to 1 target non-assassin creature until this creature leaves the battlefield. Oh. I'm noticing something you can do with that.
Oh boy.
Because what you can do with that is play it for its warp cost. Exile out your own creature. End of turn. It goes into the warp zone. The thing that it exiled comes back. Oh!
Oh no.
Celestial Colonnade!
Yo, bro.
Land. It's a land that enters tapped. You can tap it for white or black. You can pay 5 to make it a 4/4 white and blue elemental creature with flying and vigilance. It's still land.
So
and
anyway,
and that's until end of turn that it's a creature, by the way.
Yeah. So anyway, I decided to turn my land into a monster.
Yeah, there are several lands like that. They are actually called man lands.
Ooh.
Sunset Saboteur. Okay, so before we even get to the longer text, the first couple of lines of text seem really good to me. 2 mana for a 4/1 with Menace, and ward, discard a card. Ward, discard a card is just Machina Fortress. That's insane. Whenever this creature attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature an opponent controls. Oh, but if I run the deck where they don't have creatures on the board, then that's fine. So you can build around that. I feel like you can, at least. It's a downside that can be relevant, but you can also build in a way that makes it not.
Ooh.
Focus Fire is a 1-mana instant. Deals X damage to target attacking or blocking creature, where X is 2 plus the number of creatures and or spacecraft you control. So if you have a lot of creatures in spacecraft, even just a lot of creatures, not even necessarily a lot of spacecraft, if you have a lot of stuff, you can knock anything out. Close Encounter. It's a space set. Of course they needed Close Encounter.
I get it.
As an additional cost to cast the spell, choose a creature you control or a warped creature card you own in exile. Close Encounter deals damage equal to the power of the chosen creature or card to target creature. Okay. So it's kind of a removal spell, and you can use stuff that you've warped, which is good with some of the warp strategies. And we have another guideline station, which I don't think you're running it in 60 card formats, so I don't think you ever need more than one. But we have it. Nanoform Sentinel. When it becomes tapped, untap another target permanent. This ability triggers only once each turn. Okay. Cool.
Not bad, not bad.
Yeah, that you use it for stationing shenanigans. Banishing Light. I'm actually very familiar with this card. This has been printed several times over. When it enters, you exile a non-land permanent an opponent controls until this leaves the battlefield. They've actually done upgrades to this that have like ward and stuff, but I think some of those like have other things about them as well.
Oh, it's a little guy.
Cavarone Turbodrone. It is a little guy. 3 mana for a 2/3. You can tap it to give target creature +1/+1 and haste. You can only do it as a sorcery. Okay, that's decent. Really helps with warp, with stuff that you warp, actually. If you do it with something that you've warped in. Anti-Causal Vestige. This is an Eldrazi.
Yep, they're back.
It's not surprising because we're in space. When you're in space, Eldrazi are going to show up because space in MTG is where the Eldrazi live. They live in the blind eternities. That's basically space. It's 6 for a 7/5, but you can warp it for 4. When this leaves the battlefield, draw a card. Then you may put a permanent card with mana value less than or equal to the number of lands you control from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. Now that can be a land too. And yeah, if you're playing it for 4, you can have this out, and then when it leaves, you get a 4 drop out for free. That seems fairly good, especially if you have some way to, like, do warpy shenanigans with it. Zealous Display. Creatures you control get +2/+0. Until end of turn. This is 3 mana, by the way. And if it's not your turn, untap those creatures. So basically, this is something that can reward you for using it with blockers. Especially if you have a lot of toughness on your team.
Ooh. The lander's pretty, but...
Divert Disaster. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 2. If they do, you create a lander token. Most of the time, you're going to prefer to play this when they cannot pay the 2. But you can make them use up their mana and be able to get a little bit of ramp out of it. Otherwise, not terrible. I don't see it seeing a ton of play over some of the other counter spells. Tanuka Memorial Ensign. This is 3 mana for a 2/4. Whenever a land you control enters, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. And if it's the second time this ability is resolved, you draw a card. So you're going to play this landfall deck, especially one where you have a lot of ways to ramp, including lander tokens. Interceptor Mechan.
Robert.
Actually, can landers only activate as a sorcery? No, they can activate as instants. Interesting. Okay, that's good to know. It's a 4 mana 2/2 flyer. When it enters, return an artifact or creature from your graveyard to your hand. Okay, so a little bit of witnessing going on there. At the beginning of your end step, if you have the void trigger, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. That seems good.
Yeah.
I think you would use that more so in like some kind of sack deck. Mythic Wildcard!
Yay!
That can be anything. It could even be a boat. Mental Modulation. Okay, so it's a 2 mana instant, but it costs 1 less to cast during our own turn. Tap an artifact or creature, draw a card. Even if it didn't have that first line of text, it would be really good. It would be good on rate. Lost in Space. 4 mana for an instant. Target artifact or creature's owner puts it on their choice to the top or bottom of their library. Surveil 1. It's cool. I don't like cards like this frequently do not get played very much. And it's unfortunate because I think there could be a place for them, but just people don't want to do it. And I understand perfectly well why. I just do think there could be.
Hey, another little guy.
Nar Jellyfish. Sinister Cryologist. 3 mana for a 2/3, but you can warp it in for 1. When it enters, target creature an opponent controls gets +3/+0. Or -3/-0. That makes it a lot better actually. If the opponent's creature gets -3/-0. It would be better if it had flash, because I think the 1 mana version of it you mostly want to do like to mess with their attacks, but you can really only mess with their blocks with it.
Ooh.
Starfield Shepherd.
Ooh, pretty.
Ooh, okay, this is actually really good. 5 mana for a 3/2 flyer, but you can warp it in for 2, which is very relevant. When it enters, you search your library for a basic plains or a creature card with mana value 1 or less. Reveal it, put in your hand, then shuffle. This can be potentially a value engine. Because you get a creature with 1 or less. Let's say you're doing, even if you're doing it on like maybe turn 3, you're able to play that creature right then and there. Or again, if you're short on lands, it's like, cool, I'll go get a land. This seems like it's really good.
I really like the name of that card too, Starfield Angel.
Seam Rip. It's very similar to Banishing Light, except it costs 1 mana, but you can get rid of something with mana value 2 or less that an opponent controls until it leaves. Which seems fine. Can get rid of something. There's some threatening 1 and 2 drops in this format that you'd want to. Thrumming High Pool. We saw this before I started recording, but I'm going to go over this here. 6 mana artifact, Affinity for Slivers. Slivers you control have double strike and haste. And at the beginning of your upkeep, create 2 1/1 colorless sliver creature tokens. I checked. There's nothing else in this set that refers to slivers.
It's like, okay, it's just here.
Yeah. If you want to use it in a sliver deck, go for it. Seems like a good choice. I just don't know why it's in this set. This set in the main set. At the beginning of your end step, Frontline War Rager. 3 mana for a 2/3. At the beginning of your end step, if you control 2 or more tapped creatures, put a +1/+1 counter on it. That seems good because there's several ways to tap them. I think you use this in like a deck that wants to station or wants to crew vehicles or do stuff like that. Mechan Shieldmate. What in the Warframe?
This is space.
Yeah. This is a 2 mana 3/2 with Defender. As long as an artifact entered the battlefield under your control this turn, this creature can attack as though it didn't have Defender. And this is an artifact. Which means if you can give it haste, it can attack the turn it comes out. Gigastorm Titan. 5 mana for a 4/4. But it's only 2 mana if you cast another spell this turn. I can rock with that.
Yeah.
It's also nice to see double spelling decks like have reasons to want those 2 spells to be creatures sometimes.
Ayo.
Warmaker Gunship. 3 mana. When it enters, deal damage equal to the number of artifacts you control to target creature and opponent controls. That can include artifact creatures, so you can just you can just shoot something down immediately. And then you station it for 6, and it's a flying 4/3. I think that's okay. I think you're using
not
it.
Bad.
Yeah, I think you're using it in a station crew type of deck, but not necessarily elsewise. Pinnacle Kill Ship. 7 mana. When it enters, it deals 10 damage to up to 1 target creature. That'll fucking do it. And then at 7 station counters, it's a 7/7 flyer. I don't know. I think it's big and flashy, but I don't think it's worth 7 to just kill one thing. And then sometimes get a flyer out of it. Uh, 2 mana 2/2 Death Touch. It is a plant scorpion. Blooming Stinger. Oh, when it enters, another creature gets Death Touch. So you have like a 1-drop that maybe has a little bit more toughness that could be helpful. And then you play this as a 2-drop.
Cool.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool, though.
Mm-hmm. Nutrient Block. A 1 mana food that is indestructible.
Finally.
You can pay 2, tap, and sack it to gain 3 life, which is something that all food has. And then when it's put into a graveyard from the battlefield, which will normally happen when you're sacrificing it, you draw a card. If you're doing an artifact deck, I think you'll have reasons to potentially want this.
So that's what happens to your food when it goes into the banish or the exile zone.
Yeah. Rayblade Trooper. Ever so slightly Star Wars coded. A 3 mana 2/2 with that you can warp for 2, which I feel like is somewhat important. When it enters, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. It can be this, but if you're warping it especially, you're going to want to put that counter on something else. Whenever a non-token creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it dies, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. That seems okay.
No, that's not bad. That's not bad.
There's several hoops that I think you have to go through, but it's all right.
My God.
Vault Guard Trooper. 5 mana, 5/5. At the beginning of your end step, if you control 2 or more tapped creatures, you may discard your hand. If you do, draw 2 cards. That doesn't seem very good until you realize that probably by the time you're playing 5-drops, you probably don't have very many cards in your hand. And you can always just choose to not discard your hand. And if you're playing a deck where you want stuff in the graveyard, then you may still want to discard your hand.
Yeah, it's your choice. Ooh.
Or a Boroid.
Ooh. That goes hard.
It's a 4 mana 1/3. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put X +1/+1 counters on each creature you control, where X is this creature's power.
Bro.
Okay, so here's what the thing. This will get counters onto itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is, the first turn you have it out, let's assume you have no other way of like increasing its power or anything. It'll put 1 counter on everything. The second turn, it'll put 2 counters on everything. Because it'll have 2 power, because it'll have the +1/+1. And then it'll have 4, and it'll just exponentially go up. I think this is better in Commander than it is in Constructor in 60-card formats. But I think there might be a place for it, potentially, in Go Wide. Like, it's possible to see it. Why is this being treated as... This is giving me first, even though we've already seen this.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
Weird. Anyway, Starfighter Pilot.
Nice.
2 mana 2/2. When it becomes tapped, surveil 1. This is meant to station things and also crew vehicles, because in Standard there are also other vehicles.
Yo.
Felgraph
That
Ship.
goes hard.
Felgraph Ship. When it enters, you mill 3 cards and then return a creature or spacecraft from your graveyard to your hand. Okay. A little bit of Reanimator going on. If you station it for 8, it becomes a 3/2 flying lifelinker. Honestly, I think it can. I think if you're running the right deck, it's worthwhile to play it, even if you're not sure about stationing it.
Still a cool card.
Might Form Harmonizer. 4 mana 4/4. You can warp it for 3. Whenever a land you control enters, double the power of target creature you control until end of turn. This, in theory, seems like it should be pretty good. I think it's too slow.
It needs a little oomph in its magic.
I think maybe you run it as like a one of in like the Tifa landfall deck. Virus Beetle.
The little guy.
2 mana for a 1/1. When it enters, each opponent discards a card. I think if the self-bounce deck maintains a reason to run black, this lands in the deck. No question. But, like, this is much better in a format that has ninjas in it. Use social engineering. 5 mana, you can warp it in for 2. Whenever a land you control enters, create a 2/2 robot. I don't think that's bad. That seems okay. I'm not sure if the overt landfall decks would want it, but I think the warp decks might. I think the warp decks would consider it. as just a means to create a little bit more card advantage. But I don't know. I could be wrong about that. I think especially in draft, the landfall decks are going to want it because the draft landfall decks aren't going to have access to the Final Fantasy stuff. Anyway, Scout for Survivors. 3 mana sorcery. Return up to 3 target creature cards with total mana value 3 or less. Total mana. Okay. For your graveyard to the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each of them. So you can get like 3 1-drops. You can get a 1-drop and a 2-drop, or you can just get a 3-drop.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
Yeah, that's not bad. I can see if you put it, if you have the right deck with it, it goes hard.
Ooh.
Lightstall Inquisitor.
Oh my god.
It's a 1 mana 2/1 with Vigilance, which is already nutso. I'm familiar with this card. With this enters, each opponent exiles a card from their hand and may play that card for as long as it remains exile. But each spell cast this way costs 1 more to cast, and each land played this way enters tapped.
That's still so cool.
Yeah, if you play that on turn 1, you're really slowing your opponent down no matter what you take from them. Like, it is a tempo piece, and it goes, and it just helps you be aggressive while still slowing your opponent. Very good. Bright Spear Zealot. 3 mana 2/4 with Vigilance. It gets +2/+0 as long as you've cast 2 or more spells this turn. Okay. That has some applicability.
I like that title, Bright Spear.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Saurian Dirgecraft. It's 5 mana. When it enters, each opponent sacrifices a non-token creature of their choice. And then if you station it for 7, you get a 4/3 flyer.
That's still pretty cool.
I'm going to be honest, from a gameplay perspective, not a fan. Seems pretty expensive for what it does.
I do like the spaceship design itself. That is still cool.
Memnon. Earthos Exile.
He's another jelly.
3 mana for a 1/3 flyer. Whenever an artifact you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. It can be Earthos itself. Alright. Wildcard!
Yay!
Gravepack Monoist. Okay, this goes in the sack deck. 3 mana 2/1 flyer, but when it dies, you make a robot, so it replaces itself if you sack it. Intrepid Tenderfoot. 2 mana 2/2. It says Insect Citizen, but it's really a bear. And you can pay 3 mana to put a +1/+1 counter on it as a sorcery. Draft filler. I think you can get away with playing it, but it's just... Emergency Eject. 3 mana for an instant that destroys a non-land permanent and lets the controller make a lander. Alright, there's probably some matchups where you really don't want to do that. But I don't know. In some cases, it might be better for the opponent to have a lander than to have whatever they had. Edge Rover is a 1 mana 2/2 with reach. When it dies, each player creates a lander token. I love this as an aggressive piece. Like, it can be very aggressive. You can play it a little bit more defensively. You can do whatever you want with it. It's just a little guy.
It's a little guy. Yep. Ooh.
Zoophyte Osteoharmonist.
That's a title.
What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, somebody explain?
Well,
Please?
let's I get they play bone music. Hang on, the flavor. They will call you a monster, but I call you worthy. Right. Bone musician. Anyway, it's 3 mana 2/3. You can tap it. Return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. It's a skeleton in addition to its other types and has no abilities. Activate only the sorcery. I guess if you have like creatures in your graveyard with a negative ability, that does really good. Or if you just care about giving them on, or if you have some way to like blink them, that's good. Now there's only one new card here. Sammy, Ship's Engineer. 4 mana 2/4. At the beginning of your end step, you control 2 or more tapped creatures. You make a tapped robot.
He's just
excellent.
A dude.
He's a dude. He give you dudes.
Oh, hi.
Halia, Guided by Light. 3 mana for a 3/3, but it warps for 1. When Halia or another creature or artifact you control enters, you gain 1 life. At the beginning of your end step, draw a card if you've gained 3 or more life this way. Okay. This is going to be used in the annoying best of 1 life gain decks. That is the primary place it's going to be used. Bet. Beamsaw Prospector. When it dies, you make a lander. Cool.
They're just a dude.
Cool. Put that in the sack deck to get a little bit of extra ramp. Diplomatic Relations. Target creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains Vigilance. It deals damage equal to its power to target creature an opponent controls.
That has Doomslayer vibes, and I'm all down for it.
It does, in fact, have Doomslayer vibes. Galactic Wayfarer. 3 mana for a 3/3. When it enters, you make a lander. It can fill... Yeah, it can fill a slot. And another Beyond the Quiet. More board wipes. That's what Standard needs, is more board wipes.
Yeah. Ooh, I already see a really pretty card.
Gravkill.
I just get rid of your things.
Okay, sure. That's a name. So Gravkill. 4 mana instant, exile target creature or spacecraft. I think it's possible this sees play. Sky Stinger. 3 mana for a 3/3 with reach. And when it blocks a creature with flying, it gets +5/+0 until end of turn.
That's pretty cool. Also, I really like the name of that.
Just says flyers? No, get the fuck out of here. What's a flyer? Get rid of it. Then we got Scour for Scrap. It's a 4 mana instant. You choose one or both. So you can search your library for an artifact, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. And you can return an artifact from your graveyard to your hand. And again, you can do both of those. So I think it's worth it. I think you primarily will play it when you're able to do both of those, but that should be easy if you're playing an artifact-centric deck.
Also, it's really pretty, that art.
Yeah.
Ooh.
We got a planet!
Finally!
This is the white planet. It takes 12 to station this planet. 12 power. When it's stationed, you can pay 4 and tap it to create a token that's a copy of target artifact or enchantment you control, except it's legendary. Which kind of actually helps prevent certain abuses of that. So that's interesting. I don't know how playable that is, but It'll do something, I'm sure. Earthos Scan Ship. 4 mana. When it enters, draw 2, then discard a card. Pay 8 to make it a 4/4 flyer. If you're doing a spacecraft deck, I think you play this. If you're not, I don't think you do.
That's a dude.
Weststalker Ardent. 3 mana for a 2/3, but you can warp it for 1. Whenever another creature artifact you control enters, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. Okay, so if you're warping it for 1, you're doing it on a later turn where you're able to you shit out a bunch of stuff. Alright. The End Stone!
Ooh.
7 mana. Whenever you play a land or cast a spell, draw a card. But at the beginning of your end step, your life total becomes half your starting life total rounded up.
Okay.
So you're steadily dying. However, comma, cards. Probably better in Commander. Depressurize. 2 mana for an instant. Oh, I actually like the flavor of this. This is really cool. Target creature gets -3/-0 until end of turn. Then, if that creature's power is 0 or less, destroy it. That's fun. I like the way that works.
We have a dude.
Station Monitor. 2 mana for a 2/2. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, create a 1/1 drone with flying and can only block creatures with flying. That seems pretty damn good.
Yeah, that's not bad. Oh, hello.
Alpha Rael, Stone Chosen. We saw a different version of Alpha Rael earlier. 5 mana for a 3/3. Ward, discard a card at random. That's crazy. That's even worse than Machina Fortress. Whenever Alpha Rael attacks, if a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn or a spell was warped this turn, defending player loses half their life. Rounded up.
Jesus.
Oh, you can turn that into a kill in Standard. That can kill in Standard. We have 1 new card here. Litho Breaking. Create a lander token, then you may sacrifice an artifact, which can be the lander token you just made. When you do, Litho Breaking deals 2 damage to each creature. Okay. So you kind of use it as like a pyroclasm, but you can sacrifice something else that you're more interested in dying. Like maybe this Cryogen Relic.
Oh, hello.
Or you could get rid of an artifact creature that's going to die anyway. To the board wipe. 0 Point Ballad. Destroy all creatures with toughness X or less, and it costs X and black. If X is 6 or more, return a creature card put into a graveyard this way to the battlefield under your control. That can include your opponent's creature.
Bro.
Oh boy, that's funny. That's funny.
Also, that art though.
Very good art. I really like 0 Point Ballad. I'm more inclined to play it with in Commander to really get the most out of it, because I feel like you're more likely to be able to get to the higher echelons of what that does. But still. Okay, so we do have a special guest and we have a mythic rare. Drill Too Deep. 2 mana for an instant. Choose 1. Put 5 charge counters on a spacecraft or a planet, so get them closer to being stationed. Or destroy target artifact. Really like this card. Really like this card for any kind of station deck. Oh, this isn't a
Ooh.
special guest.
That's still pretty damn cool, though.
Extinguish your battleship is 8. When it enters, destroy target non-creature permanent. Then it deals 4 damage to each creature?
That's... Damn.
Huh. And then for 5, you get a 10/10 flying trampler. The only downside is if you have a board, then if you have a bunch of creatures, then you might be getting rid of your own board. But I don't know. That seems worth it if you're playing it in the right situation. The Mythic was the special guest.
Yo, look at that. That is so cool.
You can tap it for a colorless, and you can pay 1 to make this a 1/1 Phyrexian Blink Moth artifact creature with flying and infect until end of turn. It's still a land. Infect.
What?
Well, I need to explain what infect is.
Yeah, go on ahead. There's
When
a
it-
word there that I didn't like.
When a creature with infect deals damage, it deals damage in the form of -1/-1 counters to creatures, and it deals damage in the form of poison counters to players. And I know what the word you didn't like is.
Yeah.
That would be Phyrexian. This is from the set New Phyrexia.
Okay, I was about to say.
Yep. Tractor Beam. 4 mana.
30.
Enchant creature or spell or spacecraft. When it enters, tap enchanted permanent. You control enchanted permanent. Enchanted permanent doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. But if you take something with like some kind of static ability, then that's really good.
Ooh.
Sothera the Super Void!
Finally, a place for me.
4 mana. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent chooses a creature they control and exiles it. At the beginning of your end step, if a player controls no creatures, sacrifice Sothera, then put a creature card exiled with it onto the battlefield under your control with 2 additional +1/+1 counters on it.
Damn, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a few good ones here.
Oh yeah, several new ones in this pack. A Flight Deck Coordinator. At the beginning of your end step, you control 2 or more tapped creatures. You gain 2 life. A lot of these care about having tapped creatures at the end of the turn, which is interesting.
That's cool.
3 mana for a 2/2 Menace. Void. So if a non-land permanent left or a spell was warped, put a +1/+1 counter on it. And then at the beginning of the end step is when that happens. So that's
There's the little guy!
Chrome Companion. 2 mana for a 2/1 dog. When it becomes tapped, you gain a life. You can pay 2 and tap it to put target card from a graveyard on the bottom of its owner's library.
We protect that doggo. I don't care. You protect it.
Real. Tapestry Warden. 4 mana for a 3/4 with Vigilance. Each creature you control with toughness greater than its power assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. This is one of those. Each creature you control with toughness greater than its power stations permanents using its toughness rather than its power.
He
Just
is
flip the
protecting the
game
doggo.
over.
He's literally protecting the doggo.
Unfortunately, he's not because the doggo does not have greater toughness.
Dang.
Board wipe.
Okay. Yep.
I think the game is telling me to run a deck with a bunch of board wipes in it. Thawbringer. When it enters or dies, surveil 1. 3 mana for 4/2. I'd run it in a draft. All right. This has to be a special guest. It's Thespian Stage!
Yay!
It can tap for colorless, or you can pay 2 and tap it to make it a copy of target land, except it has this ability. This is very useful in certain decks that have lands that maybe you want to make a copy of to have it not have counters. Requiem Monolith.
That's pretty cool.
A 3-mana artifact. You can tap it until end of turn. Target creature gains. Whenever this creature is dealt damage, you draw that many cards and lose that much life. That creature's controller may have this artifact deal 1 damage to it. Activate only as a sorcery. So I can tap it and deal damage to a creature I have to draw a card, lose a life. I can also have it on a creature that I want to die. Okay, yeah, that can do a few funky things. Another special guest. I'm getting all of them now.
Yay! Ooh.
Way.
That is my aesthetic. I love space whales.
Starbreach Whale. 5 mana, 3/5. You can warp it for 2. And it has flying. When it enters, surveil 2. So 2 mana, you surveil 2, and you have this to play on turn 5 later. I don't think it makes most decks, but certainly if it's a draft deck, it can make it in there.
Ooh, that's pretty.
Ilvoy Light Gemmer. It's a 2-mana equipment with flash. When it enters, attach it to target creature control. That creature gains hexproof until end of turn.
Ooh.
And the creature gets +1/+2, and it has equip 3, so you can equip it to something else, but it won't have hexproof when you do it that way. But that still seems like a good card. And interestingly, it's one of the few blue cards I would consider as part of the equipment deck, although it may just make prowess decks. Because prowess decks have been Izzet. Crystal Quarry! You can tap it for colorless, or you can tap 5 other lands and tap it to get Wooburg, which is 1 of every color. We've already seen Elegy Acolyte. Or, no. Mm-hmm. No, we saw Elegy Acolyte. I think we saw it, like, before the recording started. 4 mana, 4/4 lifelink. Whenever 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you draw a card and you lose a life. Void. At the beginning of your end step, if a non-land permanent left the battlefield or a spell was warped, you make a robot.
Make a robot.
That seems decent.
Alright, 14 packs remain.
Yeah. Decode Transmissions. 3 mana. Draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. Void. If a non-land permanent left or a spell was warped. Instead, you draw 2 cards and each opponent loses 2 life. So obviously you'll want to play this when you have the Void active, and make your opponents lose life and just get some card draw out of it. Dual Sun Technique. Target creature control gets double strike until end of turn. If it had a +1/+1 counter on it, draw a card. It's honestly worth it just for the double strike. I think it's preferable to have +1/+1 counters involved, obviously.
I do like the name of that too. Dual Sun Technique.
Yeah. Stomping Ground! It's a shock land, except unlike the other one,
Yay!
It's red and green. It's still showing Banishing Light is new.
That's still bizarre.
We know that's not new. Anyway, molecular modifier. This one's new. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature control gets +1/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn. 3 mana, 2/2. Okay.
Not bad.
It's there. And another Thrumming High Pool.
Ooh, got 2 new ones.
Ilvoy Galeblade.
Another jellyfish.
1 mana, 1/1, flash, flying, sack this creature and 2 mana to draw a card. That seems really good. That seems like a very good aggressive. That seems like a very good like turn 1 play for some kind of control shell. Maybe even do something aggressive with it.
Yeah.
All Fates Scroll. 3 mana for an artifact. You can tap it to add 1 mana of any color. This is a standard mana rock type thing. But you can pay 7, tap and sack it to draw X cards, where X is the number of differently named lands you control. I think you'll see it in Commander more so than you'll see it in constructed formats, if I'm being honest. Because that seems like a lot. Ouroboros, we saw that earlier. I pointed out the interesting way that works. Let's even get some more shock lands in these last few packs.
Ooh.
Thaumaton Torpedo. It's 1 mana. 6, tap and sack it, destroy target non-land permanent, but it only costs 3 to activate that if you attacked with a spacecraft. Okay. I think this is draft first and foremost. But I think there could be a situation where you see this in a side deck. Ruinous Rampage. 3 mana. You choose one. It's either 3 damage to each opponent or exile all artifacts with mana value 3 or less. Oh, that just wrecks any artifact deck existing.
Lol.
In
It's
this
like finally somebody to help deal with blue.
Oh no! This will be used in red blue.
Yeah.
Warmaker Gunship. We saw that previously. We're starting to get more frequent repeated rares, but we're still getting new commons and uncommons. Interesting. Command
pretty.
Bridge. It enters tapped, and when it enters, sacrifice it unless you tap an untapped permanent you control. And it can do a mana of any color. Okay.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
Yeah, it's not something that you necessarily want to play, although I suppose if you do have something if you have something that cares about having... No, because this wouldn't be a creature. If you have something that wants to be tapped, that would be a turn to play the Command Bridge. Anyway. Meltstrider Eulogist. 3 mana for a 3/3. Whenever creature you control with +1/+1 counter on it dies, draw a card. That's okay.
That's not bad.
Yeah. Rescue Skiff. 6 mana, and it takes 10 to station. I'm going to tell you right now, the ability that you get for it just entering needs to be really, really good for it to be worth that.
Yeah.
When it enters, return target creature or enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield. I don't think standard players are going to be willing to pay for 6 for that. I think there may be a fringe strategy that'll use it, but I don't think standard players are going to be willing to pay 6 for that.
All right.
Memorial Vault. 4 mana for an artifact. Tap and sacrifice another artifact. Exile the top X cards of your library, where X is 1 plus the mana value of the sacrificed artifacts. You may play those cards this turn. I think in most cases, I think in some, there's a few cases where you do multiple cards, but most of the time I think you'd want to sack, a lander or some other 0-cost artifact. Maybe a 1-cost. Get, 1 or 2 cards that you can play that turn. Mechan Navigator. When this creature becomes tapped, draw a card, then discard a card. Yeah, there are some red cards that do something similar where you can discard a card, but then you get to draw a card when they become tapped in current standard. I think this will just open up blue to being able to do more of the crew / spacecraft stuff.
Ooh.
Lumen class frigate. It has multiple station ability. It has multiple stations, as it were. It costs 2 mana. Ooh, this might be really good. So at 2, other creatures you control get +1/+1, which actually helps it station faster and also like attack better. And then at 12, it's a 3/5 with flying and lifelink. I think you're mostly concerned about getting the Anthem effect, especially with how easy that is to pull off.
Yeah.
We do have a new one here, Lightless Evangel. When you sack another creature or artifact, you put a +1/+1 counter. It's 2 mana for a 2/2. Yeah.
Fucking hell, vampires!
We have seen 2 in this whole thing. Mythic Wildcard!
Ironic. And we got a couple.
We've already seen Virus Beetle. It's acting like it's the first time we've seen it when it's not. We already know that we've seen Virus Beetle. Temporal Intervention. Okay, so it costs 3, but it costs 2 less if Void is active. That's cool. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it. That player discards that card. I have a deck to put this in.
Oh boy.
Tiny Bones!
Oh no, Tiny Bones in space.
Tiny Bones in space!
That would be so hilarious.
Terminal Velocity. Invasive Maneuvers. 2 mana for an instant. Deal 3 damage to target creature. It deals 5 damage instead if you control a spacecraft. Very nice. And we've already seen Adagia. A couple of new uncommons. Memorial Team Leader. 4 for a 4/3, but you can warp it for 2. During your turn, other creatures you control get +1/+0. So basically, if you're warping it out, you're kind of doing it for that little +1/+0, get in a bigger swing, etc. Dog.
Yes. He's a cutie. Look at him.
3 mana for a 2/1. You can warp it for 3, which is interesting. Codecracker Hound. When it enters, look at the top 2 cards of your library. Put 1 in your hand and the other into your graveyard.
I love the flavor text. Even across the edge, a dog will still a dog. Dog is still a dog.
And we have Chrome Companion in the same pack. Excellent. And it can put the card that you put in the graveyard on the bottom.
That's cool.
And we have seen Mightform Harmonizer. I don't know if that sees play, but I want to find a way to have it see play because that's dope as fuck. I really like that card.
Yeah, let's see the new
Mythic Rare. It's another Sammy.
Hey,
Oh wait, this is a different Sammy. Sammy Wildcat Captain. 6 mana for a 4/4 with double strike and vigilance. Spells you cast have affinity for artifacts. Okay. I see why it's 6. Because it's 6, though, it's never going to be played, and that sucks.
3 packs
We've got
remain.
3 packs to go.
Oh, we got some new ones.
Auxiliary boosters. 5 mana for an equipment. It can equip for 3, which is decent. When it enters, you make a 2/2, and you attach the equipment to it. And the equipped creature gets +1/+2 and has flying. So it's basically 5 mana for a 3/4 flyer, and you can basically put the equipment onto other things. That's okay. I think equipment decks will enjoy that, but I don't know if it's good enough for the equipment decks because I don't have a lot of experience with the current equipment decks to know what they'll want.
Ooh.
Pulsar Squadron Ace. 2 mana for a 1/2. When it enters, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You can reveal a spacecraft and put it in your hand. Put the rest on the bottom. If you didn't put a card into your hand in this way, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Okay.
No, that's not bad.
Yeah, if you're doing a spacecraft deck, I think you definitely want this. Weapons manufacturing. 2 mana for an enchantment. Whenever a non-token artifact you control enters, create a colorless artifact token named Munitions. When this token leaves the battlefield, it deals 2 damage to any target. Boy, that seems a little bit abusable.
So anyway, I started blasting.
2 more packs to go. Let's see what we get. Eumidian Terrabotanist. Whenever land enters, you gain 1 life. 2 mana for a 2/3. Okay, yeah, a little bit of a filler slot, but I don't think the constructed landfall decks really want this. Simply because there's better 2-drops that they have from Final Fantasy.
Ooh.
Synthesizer Lab Ship. This is a 1 mana spacecraft. Oh, this is going to make the spacecraft deck pop. If you get Station 2, at the beginning of combat, up to 1 other target artifact you control becomes an artifact creature. That's a 2/2 flyer. Okay. And then if you have 9 on it, it's a 4/4 flying. This is going to make spacecraft decks pop off. I feel like.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's very easy to get going.
Alright. Last one.
Just the rare. And it's just another Requiem Monolith. Okay.
Alrighty.
But we currently have plenty of wild cards to work with.
We have quite a bit.
I'm not going to open these until I have an increment of 6. That's generally the way that I do things.
That is perfectly fine.
But, yeah, I hope that people enjoyed seeing me open this shit. I'm probably going to start building a few decks here soon. You'll probably start seeing some of that gameplay in some of my videos. I may try to do videos where it's me doing the gameplay with commentary again more in the future. And who knows, if the stuff that's a little bit more unscripted for me takes off, you may see me live stream a little bit more. What would you think about that?
I would love to see you live stream more often.
Sure.
And I was just here for pretty art.